This video is about introduction to tactics. A tactic is a move or sequence of moves designed to gain some kind of advantage. Depending upon the position, a tactic might help you checkmate your opponent or gain material, that is, gain more pieces than your opponent, or it might even help you save or draw a losing position. There are quite a few tactical themes that are very common in chess. In this series, I will explain these themes and give some examples. The main goal with solving tactics is to recognize patterns. To get better at recognizing patterns as soon as you see them, you should practice by solving as many tactics as you can. A good book to start is Chess Tactics for Students by Bain. It is in the format of a workbook and has a great selection of positions. You can also purchase books that organize tactics according to themes. Alternatively, you can solve tactics in chess.com or chess24.com. Alright, let's look at the first topic in this series, knight forks. If a knight attacks two or more pieces at the same time, it is called a fork. The simplest example is this position here. It is white's turn to play. If white plays knight e6, the knight attacks both the king and the queen. So the black king has to move away from a check. And if it moves away from a check, then white can capture the queen and white has won the queen. This is a simple scenario of forks. Some forks may be more complicated than this. For example, let's look at another position. It is white's turn to play, and I want to mention at any point during the video, feel free to pause and think. So in this position, white can fork the rook and pawn with his knight by knight e5. So it's attacking both the rook and the pawn. The pawn is attacked by both knight and bishop. So this is a double attack, but it can be averted. Black can play rook c7, moving the rook away from attack while at the same time defending his pawn on f7. So a better alternative for white is bishop f7. And white got a pawn. Now if black captures the bishop with king f7, then white can play knight e5 check and attacking the rook at the same time. So this is more powerful than the first knight e5 because there is a way to avert that threat, and this time there is not. So let's look at a couple of other positions. Consider this position, for example. It is black's turn to play, and you might notice that the only knight fork that might be possible is knight f2, checking the king and attacking the queen at the same time. However, there are two defenses against that. There is the rook on f4 controlling f2, and there's also the bishop on g3 controlling f2. So if you want to think for a second, pause the video for a second and then think about this position. So I'm going to explain you what should happen here. If there is a way to remove these defenders, and luckily here there is, by playing queen takes the rook, sacrificing the queen by capturing the rook. Now if white takes back the queen, black can still play knight f2 check, and you can see that nothing is controlling the square now. And after king g1, knight d3, black is winning the queen back, and additionally black has won the rook that his queen captured here. Let's look at one last position on knight forks. This is black's turn to play. You may notice that if the knight is on d3, it would fork the rook and the bishop. So if it could get there with the tempo, that would be great. This knight can come here in two moves. Now if we can do that without losing time, then he will definitely win something. So black precisely played knight c5. attacking the rook on b7. So let's say white plays something like rook b1, and now black can play knight d3, forking both the rook and the bishop, which is what he wanted. Sometimes there can be a counterattack that helps with escaping from a double attack. In this position, there is bishop c7. So white is attacking an equal piece, the rook, which is what black is attacking. But luckily for black, he's got something that he can do to check the white king and gain a tempo. So he can capture the rook, and if white captures the rook back, he can capture this knight, which gives a check. So white is forced to capture this knight back, and now black can capture this bishop, winning a piece in the end. So you may notice that some tactics are just one move, some tactics are more than one move long, but the key is practice, practice, and practice. If you practice more, you'll be able to recognize patterns easily. And if you can do that during the game, it will help you a lot in recognizing the patterns, and so you will be able to execute the tactics and gain more material eventually the game. So that's it for this video, and I'll come back with another tactic in a later video. Thanks for watching this video. Bye bye.